Alright, I got most of the parts to start rebuilding on this thing. I've just honed out this cylinder, scratched up pretty good. It got the lip off of it and everything. So yeah, that looks pretty good right there. But I set the crank over there for now. I'm gonna hone all these cylinders, and then I'm gonna put the crank back in it with new bearings, and then we're gonna put new rings in it, a cam, and all kinds of other stuff. But I've just been like going to slow lube everything up, and then just don't make the drill go real fast, and don't put the drill in there then start it. Start the drill then put it in. And I just went back and forth about 4 times. About that, not fast, about halfway on the drill, on my drill anyway. And then I pulled it out and I put it in reverse, and I did the same thing back and forth about 4 times. And them cylinders, they cleaned up really good. And it's storming out, so we're gonna do this and put new crank bearings in it and put the crank in back in. Coming down now. So this is before the home job, and this is after. Works for me. That's just a little 4 1/8 inch grit, 4 1/8 inch, 240 grit hone. All right, all honed up on all cylinders. I just went back and forth 4 times forward on the drill, and then I switched the drill to reverse. 4 times forward and 4 times back, and all them cylinders cleaned up really good. So let's go ahead and flip it over. Take the main bearings out, put the new main bearings in, lube them up, and drop the crank back in it and see what we got. All right, old bearings out, new bearings in. The big thick one goes right here in the middle. That one controls your end play of the crank back and forth. And they got little tabs in them, and there is a top and a bottom. The bottom, well, I guess that's actually the top of the motor, but looking at it here, these got oil holes in them. And then on the cap, there are no oil holes. The oil comes through here and lubes everything up. But yeah, make sure you put the hole on this side, because the caps, they don't have a hole in them. And those bearings, they look like that. They got no holes in them. So make sure you put those in right. Now, I've never built an LS, guys, so if you see me doing something wrong, yell at me. Alright? But I guess there's a seal in this little dog bone thing you should replace. Yeah. Where did he go? Oh, right there. But oh well. But yeah. Let's put some, I'm going to use assembly goo and put it in there and drop the crank in. This is the stuff I use. Just get it at the parts store. 81950 Permatix Ultra Slick. So these, see, they don't have a hole in them. So make sure you put the bearing without the hole in this side. And then these just got one little tang. Put it in the groove. Actually, this back one had 2 tangs. So the rest of these, the tang's on this side on the cap, and it's on this side on the motor side. So that's the way I'm putting it back together. Alright, the rain stopped a little bit, but I put the main caps on, remember, put them back in order. Remember before when we took it apart, we had 1, 2, and the numbers were facing just like they are. 3, and then 4, and then 5 was facing over here like this. But now, this thing don't spin over as good as it did with the stock bearings in it, but it spins over good. It spins over better than the Gen 2 LT1 that I'm building. But that That assembly goo, man, it's like glue. It holds it tight. If it was just oil in there, it's been good. I mic'd only one of them because honestly, I'm sending this thing regardless. I mic'd this one, or not mic'd it. You're better off to mic them, but I use plastic gauge. Plastic gauge read 1.5 thousandths to 2 thousandths. Which plastic gauge does read a little tight, especially since I had assembly goo in the bottom on the bearing, so that's going to make it read tight. So that's good enough for me. This motor is going to be ran on motor for a while before we can get boost to it anyway, so that'll loosen the bearings up a little bit. Now I'm going to check the end play. I'm just going to do that with a filler gauge right in there. I'm going to push the crank back as far as it'll go, measure it, and then I'm going to pull it forward as far as it'll go and measure it, and then minus the two numbers. But if that's too tight, we can just take that bearing out and flatly sand it down on each side. Don't go ahead and do that. Alright, so here's the tedious part. I'm just cleaning up the pistons. And that actually cleaned up really good. Just using a wire brush, some carburetor cleaner, and a broken ring. I used one of the old rings and broke it. So I'm going to just do these one at a time. I'm gapping the rings too, and these rings were really tight. I've got that one at about 28 thousandths. That's the top ring. I'm going to run, what I do is I put the ring in there, and then I put the piston in there and push the ring in, and then I use this ledge right here all the way around the top of the cylinder to get it straight. But I just been holding the ring in my hand and using this file, going up and down and holding the ring in my hand like this, and then just going up and down. But you got to be careful not to break the ring. But we're going to be running on motor for a little while, and then we're going to add a turbo. I don't know how much we'll boost it, but we're going to put them at 30 on the top, or not 30, 28 on the top and 28 on the bottom ring gap. And I'll push the piston, I'll push that ring down in there even farther once I get it to 28. And we're just using a filler gauge and just sticking it right in that hole, right in that gap right there. And if it goes, it's good. There's the 28, it ain't going. Here's the 20. See, the 20 goes. Oh, how good did you see that? It's hard to do with two hands. But yeah, that's the 20. And there it goes, see? The 28 don't go yet. So we're going to go until the 28 goes. And then we'll go ahead and do the bottom ring. And I'm just going to do these one at a time. And these rings got numbers on, markings on them. I was always, there's no directions with these rings. All this stuff come off eBay, the bearings, the rings, everything. But if it's got writing on it, I usually put that at the top. But it does say first ring, second ring, and oil ring. But yeah, we'll gap these, and I'll put the piston in, and we'll do them all. Also, when you're doing this, see, I hold it like this, and I just take the other hand, put the file in between there, and go up and down. When I get done, I'll clean off any burrs off the top or the bottom with the file. But when you use different size filler gauges so you know how close you're getting, because you don't want to overshoot it. I mean, you can overshoot it a little, but yeah, take your time. Once you start to get close, I'm starting to get close, so I just followed it a little. We'll put it back in, see what it says. All right, we got our ring gap on our top and bottom ring. So now we're going to go ahead and put the rings on the pistons. This is your oil ring. It goes on first. It goes in the very bottom groove. Grab two of these right here. I'm pointing at. These stick together really good. So make sure you don't get them stuck together. But this ring right here is going to go on first. And I don't know if you can see it or not. You see that little lip on the top right there and on the bottom? Anyway, there's a lip on there. These go on over top of those lips to hold this O-ring in place. So you put the O-ring in first, and then you take one of those thin rings and put on the bottom, and it goes right up against that ledge against the O-ring, and it holds it on. Make sure you don't overlap here too. When you put this ring on, make sure it doesn't overlap on you. And then put your thin rings on the bottom and the top of that ring. And those thin rings hold it in place. Alright, there we go. Full rings on, and when it's on, it should all move in one piece. See? Also, try to, all three of these rings, try to separate the ring gaps on them. But yeah, there's that, and then we'll put the bottom ring and the top ring on. Now on these, sometimes these rings will have a dot on them, and it's usually towards the gap. Or they'll have a bevel or something, and the instructions will say bevel side up or something to that effect. But these only have writing on them. I don't even know if you can see it, but there's writing on them right there. So usually if they got writing on them, I put the writing inside up. It will not focus. Anyway, there's writing right there. So we're going to put that up because there's no beveled side or anything. Just make sure you knock off any burrs that you may have from filing it. This ring actually filed quicker than that other one, but yeah, this is the second ring. We'll put that one in the middle. Alright, there we go. Top and bottom's ring in. On these rings right here, definitely make sure that you separate the ring gaps. I'm going to put one in the front and one in the back. And then on the oil rings, I kind of did one here, and one here on the three gaps on those. But anyway, that piston's done. We could oil it up, oil the cylinder up, put it in the spring compressor and push it in. Or if you got one of those things that are the exact size of the bore that have the angle in them, those work really good. But I'm just going to gap the rings and put the rings on the pistons and clean the pistons all at the same time. And then we'll come back and we'll put all the pistons. Well, we'll change the bearings. We'll take these bearings out and put new bearings in. And then we'll put all the pistons in. Just make sure, try to keep these in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think it makes a big difference on if you're changing the bearings and stuff like that, but it's good to do, period. But definitely on these are cracked caps. See, they're not, no two are the same. The cap to the rod. Make absolutely sure that you don't mix the caps up with the rods. Make sure you keep all that together. So I'm going to go through the other 7 of these and do it just like I did this, and then we'll come back and then I'll put new bearings in these, and then we'll put these in. But it'll take me a while to cap all these and put these in. That's gapping rings and cleaning pistons. That's tedious work, but I think it came out really good. I mean, here, I'll show you a different one, a dirty one. Yeah, so here's one I haven't cleaned yet. Booty dirty. I just took the rings out of it, sprayed it with that carburetor cleaner, hit it with the wire brush, sprayed it with carburetor cleaner, hit it with the wire brush, and then I took my broken ring and cleaned these grooves out. But yeah, gonna do that on all of them. Alright, I cleaned this head surface, I gapped all the rings, I put all the rings on, and now I'm gonna start installing pistons. When you install pistons, I'm gonna start on this side. Make sure that the journal is all the way up on that cylinder, as far up as you can get it when you shove this through here. And I'm going to take an oily rag and oil it up real good. And I'm also going to pour oil around the piston into the piston rings real good and lube that up. And I'm just going to use that spring compressor. Make sure all your rings, all the ring gaps are separated, especially the top two. And that cylinder over there, I gapped it way too much. I don't know. I started thinking about something else, and I thought I was gapping a new ring, and I don't know. It's about 45 thousandths on the second ring. Oh well. I don't think that's going to matter any. But yeah, I'm going to start shoving the pistons in here, clean the head surface. And so this is going to be side, that's the front of the motor. Closest to us, the top of the motor. So this would be the passenger side, which is 2, 4, 6, 8. And I got my rods in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll put in rod 2, 4, 6, 8 from front to back. 2, 4, 6, 8. And then I'll roll it over and I'll do the other side. Be careful when you push these pistons in that you don't jam the end of the rod into the main journal, because you can ruin it. You gotta be real careful. Once you slide the piston in with that, I have to have 2 hands just to do it and show you at the same time, but I got a camera phone, so I got a GoPro too, but it's just too hard setting all that up. But once you get the rings past the cylinder here, that tool will come off, and then you can push it by hand. Again, I'm going to lube this up with oil. I'm going to soak that rag in oil, and that's what I'm going to use to pour oil over top of the piston too. I got a couple quarts of oil. Yeah. Alright, when you put these rod bearings in, there's a tang up here. There's actually 2, but I mean, it only goes in one way. These, I mean, the bearings are the same. It's the same on that one. But these have no holes on them, so there's no top or bottom. The oil comes out the crank, out them crank holes. But yeah, I'm going to lube this up, pour oil on this, make sure my rings gaps are separated, especially the top 2. See there? Got the top one on this side, the middle one on that side. And then we'll lube that up, pour a bunch of oil on there, and then we'll oil the cylinder, put it in our little compressor tool, and slide it in. Alright, lube on the bearings. I poured oil on the rings, and then I took the rings and kind of twisted them around. And then you just put that on there, tighten that bolt, and it compresses the rings. And then you slide it in there. And then you gently bump right here with like the back of a hammer or something. But I'm going to hold on to this, and then I'll hit that with the back of a hammer. Like this. Sometimes the rings pop out of it. If you see it pop out on the sides, you have to start all over. But yeah, I'm going to hold on to this, and then we'll tap the piston with a hammer and see if I can't get it to go in. Alright, there we are. Piston in, dot facing towards the front of the motor. And when you're hitting on that with the back of the hammer to push it in, you don't have to hit it real hard. I mean, it does take a little bit of tapping, but I mean, you're just a hard tap. If you're having to hit it to go in, there's something wrong. Now we'll come over here and we'll push that in, and we'll line it up. You should be able to push it in by hand. So I'll just push it in a little bit more because I can't reach it. And then once I get a hold of it by hand, then I'll kind of straddle it and guide it as I push it in. Alright, so these bolts, when you put these bolts in, I got new bolts. Make sure that you lube the bolts up with just oil. That'll be fine. We're going to grab the new bolts, put the cap on, and the caps go tang to tang. So the tang side on this cap, they go to the tang side on this side. All right, and we'll just do that for every one of them. All right, we got the pistons back in. That dot right there facing towards the front of the motor on all of them. Everything went in really smooth. I did over gap this piston rings though. I don't know. I think that was the last one I done. I think I was just getting tired, or I don't know. But the first ring on that one's like 35 and the second ring's like 40. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I just lost track of where I was, because I was counting how many times I was moving the file back and forth, and I was keeping track of that, and it was working good for all the cylinders. For, you know, all the other cylinders came out to 28 to 30, and that one, I don't know, I just got carried away with the file. I was getting tired. I wasn't thinking right. That one's like 35 or 40, but if I remember correctly, I did the same thing on the LT1 on one cylinder, and it come out fine. But the rest of them are 28 to 30 thousandths. Now, this angle torque thing I got from Jegs, it sucks. Look, when you turn, that's supposed to turn with it and go like that, but it's not turning with it. So I tried to use I was going to use super glue and just glue it, and whatever number it, see, now it's working right, see? But when I started initially torquing these mains, I put everything at 15 pounds like I read on the internet. And these were like, I don't know, I forget what the numbers are already. I had to look it up online, but these were like 85 degrees, and these were 50 degrees or something like, don't quote me on that, look that up. But I don't even know if I got these correct or not, but I know I got one of them correct. So what I did was I used the torque wrench, and I just kept tightening up the torque wrench until it tried to start moving that bolt, and then I backed it off a little bit and the torque wrench clicked. And then I used the angle on all these the best I could with it spinning like that. I tried to, you know, just take a reference off the end of I was using this breaker bar to get it in the right spot. And then I went back through them with the torque wrench and made sure they were all about the same, and they were. So, I have to do the rod bolts now. They're all tightened down to 15 pounds right now. But what I was going to do is I used cement glue, and that cement glue wasn't sticking. But yeah, look, it works, and then all of a sudden it'll stop. See, and that's what it was doing on me. And I got this off at Jegs. See, right there, it stopped. See. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to super glue that to this. And then, you know, when I put it up here, I'm not going to be able to set it at 0, but just do some basic math. Wherever it lands, just add whatever angle needs to go to that. And then when I tighten it up, I'm just going to super glue it to that. But I got, the cement glue isn't holding that, so I'm going to go get some super glue later and do these. Now, there's two different types of rod bolts, and some of them have a mark on them. They'll have a dimple. One dimple means series 2, and then 2 dimples equals series. 1 dimple equals series 1, 2 dimples equals series 2, but you can see these don't have a dimple on them. I think these are series 2, and for some reason series 2 get tightened up at more of an angle. So this one, they don't have threads halfway down, then they have threads, whereas the other ones, they're threaded all the way up. But and again, guys, it's the first time I've ever built one of these motors, so I I really don't know what I'm doing. But I put the pistons and the caps all back the way they're in. I did notice something on these caps. These are crack caps. They crack these caps open, so the rod, they crack them on both sides. So if you get this rod cap mixed up with any other, or if you get it backwards, it won't fit right. When you put them back on, you know, they should be nice and together like that. That's how you'll know if they're not on right. You know, there'll be a gap there. That one does have a little gap there, but I think it's just where a part broke out of it. It's fitting like it should. See, like that one there. That one there. Should go back together nice, flat, and even. Shoot, you can't even tell where that one was cracked at. There's that one. I was double checking all that. See, that one you can't tell where the crack's at. I'm just looking at both sides, make sure all the caps are. I didn't get any. I know I didn't get any mixed up, but I'm just looking how well they went back together. It got dark on me, but yeah, everything's going back together good besides overgapping that cylinder, and hopefully it'll be fine like that 3540 where the rest of them are 2830. But I'm gonna super glue this angle gauge, whatever. I'm gonna super glue it to here, and then just whenever you put it up here, it won't be on 0, but you can just add whatever angle you need to them. But I'm gonna go with the Series 2, which I think is 75-degree angle. I'm just gonna go with that. Go with the 75. I'm gonna pretend like they're Series 2, I guess, because they look more like a Series 2 than a 1, even though they got the dots in the head of it to. And this is all eBay stuff, so it don't come with directions. But all the rod bolts need tightened down, and then I'm gonna put the cam in it, the timing chain, and the oil pump back on. I'm trying to figure out what balancer and accessories setup I want to use, but yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm just on lunch. I just come out here to look over it real quick because it got dark last night, and all I've got is that one light in the garage and that light over there. That's all I've got. So I can't really see over here, and this stuff's just too hard to move around on this gravel. So I was just doing it over here with that light, but I'm getting long-winded here. After work today, I'll come back out here, put the cam in it, timing chain, the oil pump. There's a special way you got to put them oil pumps on. And yeah, maybe I'm gonna save the oil pump for last, because I'm gonna drill a hole in that and put an AN fitting on it and put a cap in it for now. But maybe change the spring in the heads, put the heads on, etc. All right, I got the rod bolts all torqued down, 50 pounds, and then I went 15 pounds, then I went 85 degrees. And I was reading some of the websites. It says that's equivalent to about 50 to 55 foot-pounds. So I put my torque wrench on 50 pounds. I went back through them just to check, and they were all over 50 pounds. So I'm good with that. Now I'm gonna put the cam and the timing chain in. I'm gonna put the oil pan goes on last. You have to put this timing cover on first, and then you have to put the rear cover on, because the oil pan mounts to those. So also I'm gonna go ahead and drill a hole in the oil pan and put one of those AN fittings in it for a turbo drain, and I'll just cap it for now until I can get a turbo. But I definitely don't want to have to mess with that while it's in the car. But we're gonna put the cam in, and the timing chain, and the oil pump and stuff like that. Here's the cam, stage 2 turbo cam. 226, 231, 610, 68, 113 plus 4 BTR. Gonna lube it up real good with the assembly lube and stick it in. carefully. Alright, the cam and cam retaining plates on. Be careful when you got that back cover off, because that cam will push straight through. These are brand new bolts. It's a brand new plate with a new seal on the inside. And these bolts already had Loctite on them. I'm going to put Loctite on the cam bolts as well. But let's go ahead and turn this around and line this mark straight up. There'll be a mark there. We're going to put it straight up, and then we're going to put the cam gear on and put it straight up. Alright, there we go. Timing cover's on. Or timing cover, timing chain. And we're lined up, dot to dot. What I usually do is I rotate the cam down some, and then I put the chain on both gears, and then I bring this up and line the hole up. I try to get it as straight as I can, and then I'll line this hole up, and then I'll twist everything up together. And sometimes you hit it right on the nail, and sometimes you're a tooth off and got to do it again. But if you try to just put it straight on there, dot to dot, this timing gear is going to be at an angle trying to go on that pin. It's just not going to happen. So, like I said, I turn that pin down a little. I try to line everything up. Once I got everything lined up, I hold the chain on this, and then I put the pin in the hole, and then I rotate. I push up on this, and it rotates the cam up to where it should be. Because if you're at 0 marks, this should be right over here to 3 o'clock position. Yeah. But all right, let's put the oil pump on. All right, so apparently you got to make sure that this outer gear has enough room to get lube through it. So what I've done was I put a 025 filler gauge down here. I put a 02 filler gauge here. I put a 02 over here and a 1.5 there with just the bolts finger tight. Now I can go ahead and torque it down. Actually, I'm going to put Loctite on those bolts too. I'm going to put Loctite on these bolts. Once I get these tight, I can take these filler gauges out, and then we can put that plate back on there. But yeah, I'll put that one like that, and the bottom one I did the same thing. And probably don't need these ones on the side. I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, that's how you line that up. So there was one of them dog bone things in the gasket set, so I went ahead and replaced that. And what I did was I just stuck a toothpick, or a tooth tool. You can get it at Harbor Freight, on the ledge of it, and grabbed it, and it pulled it right out. I put the other one in though. I lubed it up good, and it wasn't easy to go in. I had to actually tap it in. But yeah, now we replaced that gasket, and I lubed it up real good, and I started replaced this gasket. This gasket only goes on one way. This side's got a big loop over here. Don't get it backwards. Now what I'm going to do, since you'll notice it don't really line up straight. Well, it does, I guess, kind of. I'm going to go ahead and partially put the harmonic balancer on, and then tighten all the bolts up, so that way it centers it. Alright, so when I put this timing cover on there and just barely snug these bolts up, this thing shook all over the place. So what I did was I put the harmonic balancer in there just enough that it didn't move anymore. So now there's no movement, and that's going to center all that up for us. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the bolts up, and I might just go ahead and leave that on there. Well, I'm debating on whether I'm just going to use the truck pulley harmonic balancer and the alternator bracket that goes up here for the truck balancer, or whether I'm going to use the Camaro Trans Am balancer and the accessory brackets with it. So I would go ahead and use this in the alternator. The only thing about it is the water pump has this big thing that comes up like this, whereas the Camaro one, it just comes out right here. So I don't know how good that's going to clear the hood. But anyway, I'm going to tighten these bolts up. Alright, so I made a mistake on the front. So you got to flip it over and make sure that these surfaces are flat. And I just used a straight edge, just like that. So I had to loosen it up and straighten those up. And what I did was I set it there, and then I shined a light from one side and looked through the other. And then I did the same thing back here. I put the seal on. It's weird because on small block Chevys and the LT1, the seal lip faces inward, and then like the curved parts, it'll go like that. On this one, it's like this, which is odd, but I looked up online, and that's the way it said it goes. But anyway, I took the other seal out, and I put this seal in, and then I put it up on there, and then I made these sides even, and I'm pretty sure it centered it from side to side with the seal. But yeah, put the gasket on. I actually put it on there and forgot the gasket, and then I had to take it back off and do it again. But all them bolts are tight. So I'm not going to do the oil pan yet. I was messing with it just to see if it'd clear that windage tray. It don't look like it is, but I can always cut it up front to make it fit. But I think I'm gonna call it a night, and then tomorrow probably gonna mess with the heads some, clean the heads up, put the springs and stuff like that. And I think I'll just end it for this video because it's getting pretty long, and then we'll do the heads and stuff, and we'll do the oil pan last, because I want to order a bung to put in the oil pan. I'm just going to put one of them screw-in bungs in there. I'm going to research it a little bit. But yeah. But anyway, y'all like and subscribe, and have a great day.